Good. Welcome back, everybody. Here's another great episode of The Sound of Orange, provided by me and Matt. As you know, last week we talked about a little bit of nice hidden tips of how to continue our success at the gym and things like that. So, hopefully, that was very helpful. And this week we have an even more, at least we hope, more helpful type of idea to throw at you guys. Matt and I will be discussing five health metrics that most adults should be following. So if you're following it, that's great. And this is just again our opinion. So obviously, if you're like, well, that's not with my trainer, that's totally fine. This is just me and Matt just thinking this is what we think most adults should be at least becoming aware of when it comes to day-to-day living throughout their life with the metrics of what to track. Now,
100%. And Diego, like what we said is like
mhm,
my five could be different than your five. So it doesn't
yeah,
necessarily have to be this. I'm sure we'll have some crossover. Maybe we'll
mhm,
have none. It'll be interesting to see. But these are just the ones that we feel are the most important.
yeah, and because we did discuss it. So, Matt, let's actually kick it off with you discussing yours. Because I swear I'm not stealing answers if we do
No,
crossover,
no,
guys.
that's fine.
I have my fun list. You know,
Yeah, yeah. So what do you want me to do all five or do you want to go one at a time?
let's go one at a time. Keep it interesting
Okay.
here.
So the first one, I'm going to go with waist circumference. And here is why. Because believe it or not, there was a landmark study that was done that tracked men for over a decade. And what it found was that one measurement predicted lifespan better than anything, and that's waist size. So the smaller the waist, the longer the life. So, like, we know, if somebody's got like an over 40-inch waist, they're going to be 9 times more likely to have a heart attack, stroke, or early death. So, now, the ideal ratio that we want for physiques, that what I try to get people to is I want them to be 45% of their height. So that's, if you're trying to figure where to stack up, where you should be, that's why I put the waist as number one for me.
See, I have it somewhere near, and mine's a little bit more broad and
Hmm.
more open for interpretation. But I put weight slash comfortability of your weight. So,
Hmm.
what people don't just think, oh, I weigh this much, and that could be a different than me or my weight. It's I'm comfortable at 175. So,
Yeah.
meaning I feel the strongest at 175. I feel the best physically that I can be at 175. Now, if I drop weight, will I look much better? Yes. Will I feel much better? I not really. I've been 150, 160. I've been throughout there, but I 150 was my lightest, and I didn't have quote unquote abs, but I didn't feel strong. I couldn't lift these weights. My body was actually hurting more because I was trying to do more daily activities as a trainer and picking up things, putting up things. So I understood this is probably not comfortable for me. Sure, I look great, but now I need to put in a little bit more strength and a little bit more muscle mass and a little bit more weight, which I still think I look fair, healthy wise. So I put the metric of the weight, but not only the weight, the comfortability of the weight for you. So
Yeah.
if
That's a
someone's
great one,
220,
Diego.
mhm, yeah,
That's a
so
really
things
good
like
one.
that. Oh, nice.
Because you have when it comes to like your weight, and people will bounce around and they'll find it, so that you did like your own little experiment. You got down, got super lean, you had abs, you're like, I look great, but I don't really like the way I feel. And then maybe at some point you went way above that and you're like, I'm a little fluffier than I'd like to be. And then you find that happy medium where you kind of find exactly, all right, this is where I know I can maintain, this is where I look great, I'm healthy, I feel good. It's that real Goldilocks zone. That's a really good one.
Yeah, but and that does take time for anybody who's like, oh, well, how will I know? That's again your own time as you kind of go through your fitness journey. I would like if you're a marathon runner, you're probably not comfortable at 300 pounds. But if you're like a world record of powerlifting, that's probably your sweet spot. Like it all depends. It has a big variation, open to interpretation as you will. But as long as you're comfortable in day to day life with that weight, then I would say that's kind of your sweet spot. That would be your number two.
So number two, I am a big proponent of walking and steps per day. And I like it because anyone can do it as long as there's like a floor, which unless you're, floating through space, you have. So you can really do it anywhere. And there's just so many benefits. One, it's a low barrier of entry. It doesn't take a lot out of you. So the recovery is good. And we also know it improves, things like, insulin sensitivity, the appetite control, because if you're not doing so much like hardcore running, so you don't get
Mm.
as hungry from it, blood glucose regulation. It is a it's a low hanging fruit that I think a lot of people miss out on. So I'm a huge proponent of steps, 8 to 10,000 per day.
And it's very trendy. I believe people call it hot girl walks, hot boy walks. So,
Okay, I haven't heard that, but whenever
you know,
whenever it gets out, people walking, I'm good with.
it's actually we so ours are kind of like in a sense overlapping because like you had waist, I
Yeah,
had weight comfortability, and you have walking, I have day-to-day activities. So
yeah,
meaning like we're just out there if it's not walking, if it's just getting outside and moving and whatever it is. So if you're volunteer work, you're moving around, probably doing things. Grocery shopping, you're moving around, doing things. So it all basically revolves around walking, but just making sure we're beating the stationary um, type of lifestyle. We're just there.
yeah. And if you're tracking your steps, what you'll find is there's going to be certain days where you don't even have to think about it. Let's say you're going to the mall or it's just an active day, you're going to hit those steps, regardless. But what that you will find is there will be days where unless you make it a point to do it, you're gonna be very low steps. So that's why it's just nice to track. Some days it's gonna come easy to you. Some days you're gonna have to make it more of a point. But those days where you make it a point over the long term are gonna yield the biggest dividends for you.
Yeah, and especially for the day to day, if you like do these other activities outside that you register for, say you registered for a social event that you involves meeting and greeting, you're probably moving around here and there saying hi. If you're registered for possibly, for example, hey, we're gonna do run clubs or things, probably or a walk because you can walk in those run clubs or just anything that gets you outside the house, those
Mhm.
numbers will pile up, like you said, and it will be before you know it, you probably doubled the amount that you needed to. So more benefits before none.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Um,
have
big
two good
proponent of
ones.
steps.
Yeah.
Number
And
three, I got strength progression. So I'm looking at, you know, when I'm lifting weights, is the load increasing? My reps, my control, if I'm getting stronger over time, that's what I'm looking for. Because if someone's getting stronger over time, then they're preserving or they're building lean muscle. And we know how important lean muscle is. If you don't, muscle improves glucose disposal, it improves our metabolic health, our longevity markers. We do not want to get weaker. So we want to make sure we are increasing the amount of weights that we're lifting, whether that be, like I said, the load or the reps over time. So for me, strength progression number three.
see, again, I have my paper. I can show the proof because
I tell you guys, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. I promise.
it just looks like I'm taking backing up of Matt's answers, but
Yeah.
which I didn't put these like one to like important or like the order of importance. I
Right,
just
right.
actually just listed them. But if I had to put an order of importance, maybe that's how you're giving them out. Is this is what you think the most important to next?
I think, yeah, it's not so much the most. I guess maybe because that's what came to mind first when I was
Mhm.
listing them. So it's not. It really depends on the person.
Yeah,
As most answers to most fitness questions, it depends on the person. Because if somebody has never strength trained before, then it
yeah.
goes to number one on the list. But if someone's moving 2,000 steps a day, then that step count becomes the most important thing for them to track. So it really depends on the person.
So yeah, yeah. So for this one, I'm using it based off like important to me, and strength would probably be my number one because I put strength as just having strength overall. So there's
Yeah.
the certification class I took called Strong First, which great philosophies, great ideas, horrible test to get the certification. That was besides the point. But they have this saying where if you have to do anything first, you have to be strong first before you do anything else.
Mm.
So their idea is work on strength as a skill, and before you can do anything, as long as you're strong, most things that you try to do will come basically not naturally, but much easier than you ever expected. Now, when I say strong, I don't think you have to like move mountains or anything like that. Strong to yourself. So, meaning for me, strong to myself is doing the most I can with the body I'm given. So, for somebody who's 80, strong could be, oh my God, she is still picking up her own groceries and walking to the store. Like strength is definitely a different spectrum that we you have to put in, but strength is to me the number one for me. Maybe it could be for those who are viewing, but yeah, if, that's the one thing I will agree with that certification is if you want to do anything with more ease, you have to be strong first, and it's a skill. So as long as you're practicing that skill, meaning you just train to your level and trying to get better in that strength progression, most things that come to you that you thought were going to be impossible, you'll see that you'll be able to achieve them much. It will still probably be hard. Don't get me wrong. With it'll probably still come with some challenge, but much easier than expected for you because you worked on your own strength levels and you progress, and eventually the rewards of progression will show in the real life.
Yeah. No, that's such a great point. I mean, you need to we want to be able, we want to be
Hmm.
able-bodied, able to move things and do what we need to do on a day-to-day basis, but also stay healthy. Because like a quick story, a couple of weeks ago, I was judging a strongman competition at an old gym that I used to work at, and now these guys are on a strength level some of the strongest guys around, but because of the nature of the extreme of that sport, they were also very injured. And the argument now, it's like when you push something to that extreme, you go, down the line, years down the line, are these people going to be able to do these things? Are they going to be able to stay healthy? So that person who is, it's got to be relative to what you're doing. Like you said, the 80-year-old that can carry their own groceries, that's freaking awesome. That is awesome. The person that's able to do these things on their own, live independently, that's real strength. Not just being able to,
Yeah.
set the log press record. It's relative to the person.
Now,
Um,
what would you say number four would be off for you?
okay. So number four, I have, and this is again things we should be tracking. This is protein intake. Now, I will caveat this by saying I think that protein intake has probably been, while it's very important, it's probably been overblown a little bit in our space. And it's just like, oh, let's just put protein in everything. And then we're gonna, let's not even care about how much fat is in it or sugar. Let's just protein. It says protein, protein Pop Tarts, protein pancakes, protein this
Very
and that.
heavy protein world.
Yeah, it's everything. And I get it because it is important and a lot of people are missing it in their diet. But what we're looking for target wise is we want really like zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.8 per pound of body weight. There will be formulas out there that say, per lean body weight, but unless you're getting like a DEXA scan, no one really knows what their
Yeah.
lean body weight is. So just do per body weight. And protein is very important because that's going to support, your muscle retention, your, satiety, so you're not hungry all the time, body composition recovery. So when we talk about the importance of maintaining muscle and eliminating muscle loss, like low protein diets almost always correlate with muscle loss during, especially fat loss phases. So protein intake is the other thing that I would find of my top five,
Yeah.
number four, to track.
And I want to make sure everybody understands this is a metric for adults as well. So this is why protein is also very important for you because as we age, muscle, disappears from us at different rates as different years as we go on, 60s, 70s, 80s. So now if you're looking at this, I was like, okay, I got to give my child protein, which probably, some would fit, but I wouldn't freak out of children. So this is for adults to make sure that you are aware of your protein as well, because again, we lose muscle as we go along. Now, one answer I have that did not piggyback off Matt's. Here we go, finally, about time. Uh, is for me, I have the mental aspect of health and wellness, the holistic. So, meaning how you think about your physical challenges through a day to day. So, if that's not, wow, I'm too skinny or I'm too much weight, and these things are getting you down, things like that, where you have to understand these are like our goals take time, and because time is an annoying enemy in the world of fitness, it really takes you down mentally pretty quickly if you allow it to. So, understanding that whatever you're doing physically, meaning if it's a certain goal weight because you're doing a diet, you're trying to reach a certain sport you're trying to perform in, or a day-to-day activity that you're trying to do and you're trying to get better at. That is something you have to understand that with proper progressions, it will come. It just won't come as fast as you want it to. So, learning how to understand those things is a little bit underrated, and I think should be practiced by most adults. Is just I know I say mental, but the art of understanding is how I'm gonna call it. Just hey, it's coming. Give it time. Keep working at it. Keep grinding at it. Eventually, you will get there. Do not get discouraged or wavered by these things, because then the impacts that could hit you because of that would probably be more troublesome than expected.
That's a great one. That is very deep, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about. We just focus kind of on the, I guess, the more superficial stuff, but what's going on in between the ears is just as, if not probably, the most important.
Yeah, because I at least that's the one where it really gets my clients the most is the mental aspect. Is where because they don't if they're not getting the progress as quick as they want, they're not hitting things as fast as they want, or they're lacking in this or lacking in that, then the negatives much creep up easier on them than any positive things they do. So
Yeah,
that's probably number two in my aspect on mine. Again, didn't do it ranking, but if I had to rank it on
yeah,
mine
yeah.
for my personal things. And let's see, what is your last and final one, Matt?
All right. So the thing that I want people tracking, number five, is sleep duration and consistency. So it's so important that we are striving for 7.5 to 9 hours of deep, restful sleep a night. So, what are we tracking? We're tracking, the hours that we're sleeping, and the bedtime consistency. So, what that means is, like, if I have to be up at 6 and I want to do that, also, just because I'm in bed for 8 hours doesn't mean I'm sleeping for 8 hours. Honestly, you really want to be in bed, lights out, like ready to go to bed 9 hours before you have to wake up. So you have a little bit of that buffer time, because there is a latency period. You might wake up a little bit, in the middle of the night. So the hours that we're sleeping and your bedtime consistency. Now we have all these trackers. I'm a little bit weird. I wear my Aura ring and I wear an Apple Watch. I don't wear the Apple Watch to bed, which is why I have the Aura ring. So the gadgets and gizmos out there will give you this data if you want it, but if not, you don't need it. Just like I said, 9 hours before we have to wake up, that's when we should be trying to go to bed, and then we're going to fall into that 7.5, 9 hours of deep restful sleep. And it's so important because the sleep is going to regulate our hunger hormones, our stress hormones, blood sugar, cognitive performance. It really is the driver of everything. Because if our sleep degrades, everything else is going to degrade along with it. So for me, number five is sleep duration and consistency.
Which that's a great point you bring up, because most people just hear the word sleep and they think they slept well because they were in bed for those 8 hours.
Right,
Which
right.
and then when you realize it's like, oh, so like you were in bed, so you like fell asleep. He's like, no, it was twisting and turning. I was like, okay, so and then some other things like maybe a night out, was had, and the sleep disruption was had because they had a few drinks here and there, but they were like, dude, they got 8 hours.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, we
So
could do an entire podcast, and
yeah,
I'm sure we will, on sleep itself. But I mean, just to touch on that, like,
yeah.
just because the alcohol knocks you out faster, I can guarantee you, if we charted your sleep and we can look at this, you would find that it would be a very light, non-restorative, non-recovering type sleep that you would just feel like garbage the next day.
Yeah.
But because it had um, this sedative effect where it knocked you out, you felt like it was very deep.
Yeah, so
But
I
like I
think
said, that's a
the
whole other
important
podcast.
the importance of sleep and the quality of sleep is just
Hundred
very
percent.
underrated in people. So it's a good light to bring upon that. And then my final one would be aerobic VO2. I think that's also a standard one. So for those who won't know what that is, it's just the amount of oxygen you use for day-to-day things. So, for example, if you took a quick from one block to the other, you ran and you're already out of breath and you just like you have a hard time like catching your breath, then that would give us a sign like, okay, we're struggling to learn how to breathe and control our breathing. And this, there's because running outside is so inclusive, I think it's one of the easiest things to do, just like walking. It's just about learning how to do the volume in the appropriate amount of time, things like that throughout the week. 'Cause no one should be just immediately sprinting for it. Be like, all right, I heard this podcast, let me go for it. It's again nice little introduction, but because it's very inclusive and it's a slow twitch activity, most people can do it. It's an easy way to practice. But there's also other ways to practice as well, high intensities, things like that. But I think yeah, learning how to control your breathing through most things that you do is very important when it comes to tracking it because no one should be super winded going up 3 flights of stairs, even though it
Yeah.
happens. It happens. Sometimes I'll be with my family and it happens a lot with them. And I always tell them, I was like, guys, if we were to work on a VO2, just give me 20 minutes of your day, maybe less.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the same thing. Which again, not as much as so the confusion of well, I do a lot of physical activity. That's good. Now learning the control of breathing through that physical activity would be the thing that I need people to understand.
That's a great one, Diego. And that brings me to like an honorable mention, which is related to this, which is like that resting heart rate. So the more
Yeah.
you're doing that VO2 max stuff and that cardio, you'll find over time your resting heart rate will come down. And you probably want that, if you're like a marathoner, it
Mm,
could be in the
yeah.
30s, 40s, crazy, but probably somewhere in like the low 60s and the 60s is going to be good. If you have a chronically high resting heart rate, that is something that over the long term you are going to want to bring down. And running and VO2 max up will certainly help with that.
Mhm. And yeah, so I guess my honorable mention, if I had to give one, was also just consistency. Just try to be your best to be consistent in anything you choose to practice. If it's getting those steps in, if it's walking, if it's working out, if it's sleeping, consistency was probably my honorable mention. If you can crack that bad boy, the rest again will come much easier than you expect. But
Love
those
it.
are the 5 topics of Matt and I. Even though I know it sounds like we copied off each other, I swear I have my paper, I have proof. I wrote
We
mine
did
down.
not. We did not. And that's what makes it so fun. It's like two trainers coming at it from a different angle. And there is that overlap. And then there's going to be things that we just, little different focuses, but that's what makes it fun, and none of them are wrong. They're all right in their own way.
And yeah, so in those things, hopefully these topics helped you. And if you have any questions about how to improve any of our ideas or how to work upon it, so say, hey, I do want to get more sleep, obviously leave comments and we'll address them as we can. Other than that, hopefully this is another great helpful podcast. If you have any more ideas that we want to go over, again, feel free to leave comments and we will address them as we can. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great weekend and we shall see you on our next episode of The Sound is Orange.